2 wins in a row for the Phoenix Suns against the Portland Trailblazers. Wow, feels good. Feels good, Suns fans, huh? Just kidding. It's just preseason, so it doesn't matter. Today, I am joined by Keith from the Podland Trail Casters, right? Did I get it right?
Yes, you got it right.
Right,
You got
perfect.
it right.
Perfect.
It's
How
a
you
tongue
doing tonight,
twister.
man?
It takes a second. I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me back on here. It was a lot of fun with you guys last time, and it's maybe 2 wins, 2 preseason wins, but it's preseason, so not 2 losses. So I'm feeling okay. I'm not unhappy with what's happened. It was a little weird tonight seeing the only young guys roster. So no Ayton, no Simons for us. We didn't get to see Nurk on your guys' end. We saw Nas a little bit. We saw Tumani Kamara, who's a new Blazers fan favorite already. So
I was gonna, you know what? I was gonna ask you about that. Not too much of a show from him tonight, but fan favorite, huh?
He had a good game against Utah the other night, and I think people are like, "Oh, look at this diamond in the rough that we found here
under the radar."
Rip City fans are big on the under the radar, kind of like, "Oh, look at this, found gold kind of thing."
Oh, very cool, very cool. Yeah, we'll talk about him the whole game. We'll be on here for a couple hours. Just kidding, probably about an hour, so you can jump off whenever you want, of course. But so much fun that you are here tonight. You're already out of here? All right, cool. Yeah, so it is just preseason, but I don't know. It is kind of nice to get the victory, kind of. We did see a lot of different names out there tonight. But Keith, most importantly, before we start the pod, before everyone actually likes, subscribes, leave your comments, 5-star Apple review. We will read it here on the podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us at Suns Jam. Keith, is it at Trailcasters right there?
At Trailcasters on Twitter. We've got trailcasters@gmail.com as well. We also have a Discord if you want to check out any of our episodes. We've got the link right in there. A really fun community. Just good old basketball heads and Blazer fans. So yeah.
Oh, very cool. Okay, awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'll have to join. You know what? I was in the subreddit too, and there's so many fans. I think we talked about it last time, but comments on their blog sites, all of that. It's just rapid, crazy fan base over there. That's why I'm always kind of a fan of the Blazers. I just always like what they got going on over there. But what I got going on over here is a White Claw. So usually we pop them open. I don't know if you have anything with you tonight to have a little drink while we do talk about Suns and Blazers.
I got a little pint glass with me, and I also have a backup can here, so I can pop this one in a minute, or if we can...
well, okay. Do you want to pop it together? We can pop it together.
Yeah, there we go. Let's get the honorary. Yeah.
All
okay,
right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, nice, sir. That's very nice. And John, everybody out there, John will be joining us later, but let's get this pod started. Suns do pull away with the victory. It was basically over in the first quarter, maybe when Booker took over, but they did win 117-106. And usually we start off the pod with a question. Usually John asks me a question, but tonight I'm going to ask you.
Oi, Matty. Mate, I've got to ask.
Yeah, excuse me. Actually, of course it's not. Yeah, Keith, I got to ask you a question. Watching tonight, I know there was a lot of guys not playing tonight, but how long do you give this Portland Trailblazers team a chance to get back to 500?
500
That's
on the
bad
season?
Radio right there.
No, you're good. You're talking about like season record, like 500?
Yeah, so when I'm watching, obviously there's a lot of heart in this team. There's a lot of athletic ability, a lot of young talent on this team, but Grant wasn't playing. Ayton wasn't playing. My favorite, Anthony Simons, was not playing. But all together, when they come together this season, do you think they can get above 500 this season to kind of maybe be a play-in team, or do you find it maybe a couple more years, or is it too hard to tell this early already?
I think it's definitely early. I think the ceiling, if we were to say this team was at 500 this year, that would probably be blowing away what most people are realistically expecting. Even the play-in thing, I think play-in team, if we could get that like 10th seed, that's probably about where the ceiling would be on it. If everything felt right for us, more likely that's probably a goal I'd say that I have to put off for another year or so. But the nice thing that I think we are seeing already, even, there's a lot of any young team, you're going to have a lot of bruises and kind of, mistakes here and there, and the silly things, the lack of communication with a new squad too. There's a lot of good stuff already, even without seeing Ayton and Penny Simons, our guy, seeing them out there tonight. It was nice to see Scoot, nice to see Chris Murray, who I know we're going to see minutes for this next year. Jabari Walker, we got last season, or I'm sorry, let's see. Last season with Shaden coming in. But he looks more almost like, I think, what we wanted Nasir Little to look like up here, and Nas never really got the chance to, like we talked about last time. So I think Jabari's got a lot of hope to kind of fill some minutes for us this year too. So there's a lot of nice things on the horizon. We're just not there yet,
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but you did mention the name.
Watch.
Already, this early in the podcast, he did not play tonight. It was kind of like a last minute scratch, right? Like, I thought everything was leading up to him and Nurk, going at it again, the second round, to see what would happen, to see if Ayton can kind of redeem himself a little bit, even though it is preseason. But he did not play tonight. And I wanted to get your reaction after the first game against Phoenix last game, what you saw from DA, what you saw from Nurk. I know we went over this last pod, Jamsters, but we can't get enough of Ayton talk. We've already played him twice after he was traded, and he's in every interview now. He's still in our heads. But your thoughts on him, just really quick, on his play the first game, and also just like the interviews and stuff, the remarks of him just not feeling anything being back in Phoenix. I don't know if you saw that. So yeah, those two things, his play and just kind of his personality and the way he's handling the whole trade situation.
Yeah, it's been interesting, man. There's been a lot of social media stuff from Blazer fans about, like, who down there hurt him so bad? Who did this? There was a clip from after the first preseason game that we had against the Breakers, the New Zealand Breakers, before we played you guys the first time. There was a clip where some local Portland journalists maybe kind of they had some questions for him, maybe kind of worded things a little bit to kind of open some old wounds, talking about, like, hey, how about your time back in Phoenix? And he's like, hey, I just wanted to, you could see him close up real quick, and you could see him kind of like, I wanted to talk about the game last night. I want to talk about this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so I think it's one of those where the social media fans, like, rip Twitty, as we called it back in the day of Twitter before it became X.
Twitty.
Rip Twitty,
Okay.
but instead of Rip City. But yeah,
it
really latched on to, I think, some of the Ayton stuff with like, he's like you mentioned, kind of like living in his head. He's got some feelings about all the time in Phoenix and what happened down there. At first I heard that he wasn't even at the game tonight, and I was like, no way, like, he stayed home in Portland, come on now. But he was obviously there. He was right behind the bench at one point on the camera.
Yeah, they actually showed up on the big screen, and it was a mix. There were some videos released just from a guy sitting in the stands of Ayton standing there, and then they show him on the big screen, and then all of a sudden you get a big mixture of boos and cheers, but I heard it's more boos. It's kind of sad to me, just because I feel like he definitely wants to get better and stuff, but he's just so in love with just having fun and just enjoying everything. And he's like, wait, what's the deal? Like, why does everyone hate me? Like, he's just, a little, like, I guess, childish in a way, kind of like fragile in a way, but he just doesn't want to be hurt. I feel like there's still a lot of emotion in him. He's kind of holding it in. And maybe tonight I kind of felt like maybe he just didn't want to go out because it might've been too emotional, because it happened so quick and he's gone and he was here for 5 years. There's a lot of stuff in there. He can say whatever he wants. I can see it on his face that he does feel something. But tonight, I mean, was there anybody? So I was going to ask you, with the young stars starting tonight, other than Scoot Henderson, is there like another player that you're like excited about for the season, or that you saw tonight and you're like, oh, I'm excited now about him? Or is there someone beforehand you're just like, I can't wait to see this guy play more minutes?
I've got both those. Besides Scoot, like, the thing with the young guys tonight, from my understanding, the idea was everyone that had more than a year of NBA experience took the night off for Portland. It was just about we're going to have a rotation this year where you're going to have to feature in the regular rotation some of those guys with 0 or 1 years of experience. So let's get some run for them early. And that's why you saw Scoot, Shaden, Tumani, Moses Brown, and the rest. Now Moses Brown was a Blazer previously, so he's got some kind of Blazer love up here for, like, we saw him once before. Let's see what he's got now, what he came back, what he's grown with, and all that kind of thing. Shaden Sharp, I believe, as much as we talked earlier about Simons too, Simons definitely is the star of Portland right now. Yeah. But Shaedon Sharpe, I think, is very much seen as kind of the future partner for Scoot. Like he's drafted the year before, so he's coming up right in front of Scoot. And Mike Schmitz, the ESPN draft guru who now works with Cronin for the Blazers, I think Shaedon Sharpe is really seen as his kind of project player. Like that's his guy. That's the kind of guy who has a monstrously high ceiling. It just matters about where the floor is and where he kind of gets to early. And he you can certainly see that he's got some room to grow, I think, so far. But the other guy, like Shaedon, is the one that we knew about already. We saw him already last year. We've had a lot of hype for him already in Portland before Scoot even got here. But the other guy coming in is this guy, Toumani Camara. All the name jokes we've had already, Toumani dunks, Toumani blocks, all the things you can do with that. And the rumors about how, again, Schmitz, our guy Mike Schmitz, was kind of really targeting Toumani in the deal with you guys when he and Ayton came up here for Nurk, Naz, and Keon. So he's definitely, I think, someone who I think fans have an eye on. And after he produced well against Utah, he put up 13, 5 and 2. And maybe that wasn't there as much tonight, but I think he's someone that fans are really kind of be like, oh, did we get a little extra here?
Even in summer league, we saw a lot of potential in him, and it's just summer league. I think that takes another notch up. Really, when you're talking about, oh, it's just summer league, oh, it's just preseason. Usually when it's, oh, it's just summer league, there's nothing you can really take from that league. But there was something there with him. Toumani was one guy that we were all very excited about. I don't know how many minutes he would have gotten this roster, obviously, but the potential there, he kind of reminds me, because I haven't seen him too much. Maybe it's just the way he looks on the court, the way he handles himself. He kind of reminds me of Cameron Johnson a little bit, which was my favorite here in Phoenix. I love that dude. There's something about him. He just stands out on the court. You take anybody to the games that's never watched basketball, they're like, who's that guy? He's awesome. He has like 0 points through 2 quarters, but he just sticks out. Toumani kind of reminds me of that in the situation where it's comfortability. The Suns have that in Metu too. Chimezie Metu, where he's just a guy that goes out there and he doesn't put up flashy stats, but for me, he's a guy that I can just trust. He's comfortable to me. I like him out there on the floor. He kind of fills the space where it needs to be filled. He makes the right smart plays. So I don't know. He'll probably get a lot of minutes, I'm sure. Camara will. So I'm excited to see how he develops there in Portland. You did talk about Shaedon Sharpe though. Like, this is my first time really seeing him play.
Oh, okay.
Like some serious minutes in the preseason. I love his athletic ability. I think he started the game 7-3-3. I was in the subreddit stakeout and they were talking about, is this guy going to be on triple double watch all night? Because he has kind of like an effortless flow to him. He glides, game, man. Like,
man. He does.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. There's a lot of young talent, and I hate the fact that we didn't get to see a lot of the starters and stuff, but this is kind of fun where you get to really watch these guys and really go down the line and just say, like, okay, where's the young talent at? Who can we observe to maybe be someone that can maybe be special, like Toumani Camara? So that's the best part about preseason. But this one guy, though, I want to talk about really quick. He played the first half, but didn't play the second half.
Big Dick Booker.
Just want to get your take on Devin Booker. I don't know if we really talked about him last podcast, but Booker tonight, he had 15 points in the first quarter. We call him Mr. First Quarter, or at least I do, because he can just go off. And I think the Blazers had like about a 6-point lead in the first. And Booker's like, hey, I had enough of this. All right, I'm just going to end this right now. He took over. He had 9 straight points, 2 threes, he got fouled on one of them and made his 3 free throws. So 9 straight points. And then he just kind of took over from there. You can see how vicious and crazy he can be. From the outside in, though, is Booker, you think he's an asshole? Or what do you think? Because I'm just like, when you watch his game, when you watch him and you're just like, God, is this guy, I hate him. Can you not stand the guy, or do you appreciate his game? And, Portland, Phoenix, not really a rival, but if Portland becomes something, I mean, does he frustrate you? What are your thoughts on Booker?
There are dudes that I definitely hate. There are guys that I don't like watching. I mean, obviously, there's a Dylan Brooks type that you just, he's the heel out there. There's even Russell Westbrook or honestly, even Steph Curry's not my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of the showboating. Booker, though, goes to work, man. I told you I'm biased, okay, because I told you guys before the Suns are like my second home team. So I kind of look at it maybe with a little bit of a kind of, you know, shaded glasses there, but I like what I see from Booker, man. And honestly, I think it was Scoot that mentioned when he's talking about guys that he watched like coming up. He talked about Kobe, and I can't remember the other name, like what the sequence was, but he mentioned Book in this sequence of people he's talking about. And it's like, you know, he's one of those dudes. He's one of those guards that young guards are looking at and saying, yeah, I could do that maybe. And that's having that be a goal. That's respect.
Yeah, it is. And Scoot, you mentioned him. I think that when Ayton went over to Portland for a fresh start, I don't know if it was in his hands or whatever, where he wanted to go. He said basically he was lucky he ended up in Portland. He could have been somewhere else. So he's definitely blessed to be there. But Scoot, do you see him as like kind of, I know Anthony Simons is like the guy there right now, right? The guys are counting on him to kind of be an all-star, right? To kind of be the leader of that team, I guess. But from your point of view, do you see Scoot as someone that can be someone that takes over, kind of like a Booker role where he can be that guy to like transform the city, bring championships there? We haven't won a championship yet, but just, you know, if you have him on your team, you know you're going to make the playoffs every year. Do you see Scoot as being that good? Because I know like he has some rookie flashes out there, but he also looks really good at sometimes, and he puts up some sneaky stats. So I don't know your take on what you think he can bring to this organization.
I'm with you, because especially watching the game tonight, man, the rookie flashes show up. He has those moments where like, oh, okay, you can tell this guy is coming in. I mean, on the other hand, though, yeah, he's a rookie. He's also had 2 years with the G League already. He's already had experience where he's kind of got that polish, and it's gonna be a young team. We're gonna have a lot of rookie flashes to watch all season long from these guys, but we've also got a lot of real athletic young dudes ready. You know, I think we're gonna see a lot more dunks than most Blazer fans are used to. We can talk about Ayton in a minute too. I kind of want to get to his role in kind of this younger team as opposed to what he was.
Yeah, we can get it to right now.
On Phoenix. Oh, but just as far as a follow up, what you're saying with Scoot, just a follow up. I don't want to run over Scoot because he deserves it.
Oh yeah,
I think Blazer fans definitely have kind of locked in on just partly because he's coming in to replace Dame. It's like, oh, he's the next guy. He's the next Dame for us. I think beyond that though, he does have. You look at this kid. He's 19 years old. And he's already NBA bodied coming in as a rookie. I think most rookies don't come in NBA bodied, and this guy, like, he's with the experience as well. Like I mentioned, as far as from playing with the Ignite for 2 years, I think there's a very high ceiling on him. I think maybe I talked about Shaedon Sharpe being that kind of super high monster ceiling.
Yeah,
let's say Scoot's ceiling isn't there, but it's probably more attainable than Sharpe's would be. Like Sharpe might not reach all the way to the ceiling, but Scoot, I think if everything went right for Scoot, you're looking at a dude who's probably like a top point guard in the league in his prime. He's going to be like a top 10, top 15 kind of conversation type player.
Yeah.
How long that takes to get there, what kind of team we can put around him. I think that's the real hope right now, is by going full young, by not trying to have this kind of split path of competing and having young guys. Hopefully we can, by the time that he reaches that prime, we've got a good core group, and we can figure out who works, who doesn't. And again, between Shaedon, Ayton, Kamara, maybe even at this point with how he's looking, you could have a good young core going on here. And I mean, we haven't even seen Robert Williams either yet. And Brogdon, I mean, like Andre Miller 2.0 from Malcolm Brogdon here, I think is getting a lot of attention too. So
yeah, and you brought up the vets too, and I wanted to ask you in a little bit about them. But you brought up Ayton and his role. So where do you see him kind of fitting in? He did leave a comment today. He talked about his summer and how he worked on his 3-point shot. Okay, so all right, I'm not upset, but for me as a Suns fan, if Ayton was coming back and he told me he was working on his 3-point shot, I'd be like, what? He did say though that he's sick of hearing that he can't make it or something, so he worked on it all summer long. That's it. To me, that's bad news. But what do you take from that?
I gotta say first, we heard this from Nurk a couple of years ago, where Nurk hadn't really shot threes.
Oh no!
Like he's already cresting that hill. But I'm just saying,
yeah.
he was never a 3-point shooter, and then something's like, no, I can hit some threes, I can do it. And I think 2 years ago he hit a fair number at very small volume, and then so last year he took bigger volume, and the numbers weren't that bad either. So he maybe kind of has decided that he warrants being a stretch 5. With Ayton, I think the big difference is when he was down there with you guys, again, he was the young dude, the young center, still developing center, paired with guys more and more with veteran, locked in, experienced talent. And for the most part, outside Chris Paul, we're talking talent from the perimeter, from the arc. So you really didn't need Ayton being a stretch five in any sense. For us, though, we're looking. It's sounding more and more like the Blazers plan on keeping Robert Williams. So if you're looking at him as kind of that more traditional, not necessarily five versus having Ayton the four, who knows what, but if there's any chance they play minutes together, not that they're going to start together all the time, but if they play minutes together, if you've got Williams inside, having Ayton stretch is not that bad of a thing for us. It fits a lot better than it would have down there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's your problem now, so I shouldn't even have any issue, but he is here in Phoenix, so I just had to bring it up just because we're just like, Josh Okogie, I think he's my favorite player on the Suns team. He, he should have worked on his 3-point shot. I think he did in the offseason. He said he didn't tweak anything, but it looks better now in the preseason. But he said he's been shooting better and that he didn't work on it really, but he kind of said he was kind of looking at or he was trying to work on plays and make the right play or whatever. I don't even know. So I just went on a tangent. I don't even know where I'm going down with Josh Okogie. But I did want to talk about the vets, Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon. So having those guys on your team, it kind of just like, looks good on paper, right? I really think that their roster looks great with those two added. But I was going to ask you, though, if you guys start losing and this doesn't really go to plan, I'm not saying you're going to make that they're wanting to make the playoffs. I'm sure they do. But if it doesn't go to plan and the Blazers start losing, do you think that those guys get moved? Do you think they want out of there? How long do you think these two, Malcolm Brogdon and Grant, stay with the Blazers?
Okay, let me start with Grant because he's the player I know a little more about. He's been here a little bit longer. None of our guys. Yeah. I mean, like they talked about only 4 players on the current Blazers roster were here at the start of last season, I think is what I heard tonight on the pregame. It was Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, and Jabari Walker and Shaedon Sharpe, our 2 rookies from the year before. So it's to say he's been here longer is certainly relative, but Jeremy Grant, he has legacy here. He had family that played for the Blazers previously, and I believe was born in Portland as well. So he kind of has ties here. Beyond even that, his personality, his character, he's done some YouTube and some clips and some interviews where he's talking about poetry, crystals, fashion, a number of other things that I think really kind of tie in towards kind of the Northwest culture up here. I could see him staying even with a younger team. I could see him kind of being this veteran player who just is that veteran wing player and who knows what. At the same time, he's got enough value still where I wouldn't be shocked if he got moved in a package. I just don't know how much people are targeting him at this point. Malcolm Brogdon, on the other hand, before he came here, when Brogdon when Brogdon was with the Celtics, I get tongue-tied because I'm just excited about the season. We're so close to this point. We're actually like back to NBA basketball.
Another week and a half, right?
Right. When Brogdon was with the Celtics, he was very vocal about wanting to get traded to a contender. He wanted to be somewhere where he could try and push and make a difference, maybe make a run at a championship. Obviously, that's not Portland. That's not the plan here right now. Playoffs would be awesome. I think a championship, let's live in reality a little bit, even for myself who loves to be biased about that stuff.
We got
hello.
Hold that for a second. We will come back to Malcolm Brogdon. Right now we got John Voita, JV3, live from Footprint Center. John, how are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Can you hear us?
Okay, there we go. It's never fun unless we have a little technical difficulties, right?
You got your tripod set up? There it is.
Yeah, got the tripod
nice.
set up.
So official, man.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, all right. Let's see. I got my stat sheet down here. Hold on.
You got your stat sheet? All right.
Yeah. So what are we talking about, fellas?
So we were actually talking about the veterans on the Blazers team. He was just talking about Malcolm Brogdon. I was asking about Malcolm Brogdon and Grant, how long they would last as Blazers if they start to lose this season, if they were going to be traded, all that. But what else do you have from us? He was going into Brogdon. He was saying maybe that's.
Let me ask you, John. Do you think the Suns would be interested in a veteran point guard to kind of maybe come off the bench down there?
100%. 100%. But Brogdon's not somebody who they can necessarily afford I mean, there's
That's
obviously
fair.
been the talk amongst Suns faithful that they'd be interested in somebody like a TJ McConnell. That was kind of the original landing spot for DeAndre Ayton, was like, hey, you send DA out to Indiana, you get TJ McConnell, you get Miles Turner, and that works. But there's still some interest around TJ McConnell. But Brogdon, that's just the money just doesn't make sense. The money just doesn't make sense. And he looks 38 years old at all times.
Hey, but the backup point guard situation, the backup guard situation, I wanted to go to Goodwin. Dude, how can we talk about him?
Play it.
Where's my dog?
Jordan Goodwin.
There's my dog.
Amazing night today, right?
Dude, so right before I walked over here, I passed by Jordan Goodwin. I gave him a fist bump and said, hey, great game. He came in the press conference afterwards. And
cool.
You take a look at his stat sheet tonight. He had 4 quick fouls. He had 6 steals tonight. 6.
4 in 4 minutes.
Yeah. 4 for the first. I mean, what Jordan Goodwin's going to bring. Now, he can't shoot very well. And that's obviously something that he's going to have to work on with this team. But he's somebody who just brings that X factor on defense. It's like him, Okogie, those hustle guys, those Dan Marley award-winning hustle guys. That's what Jordan Goodwin brings to this team. 6 steals. Dwayne Rankin's first question for him, he's like, dude, how do you do that in an NBA game? How many minutes did he play? 21? 21 minutes, 6 steals? Like, I get it's a preseason game, but holy fucking shit, gentlemen.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't think we have a guard issue now. I just feel like we have too many guys. I feel like even Grayson Allen tonight, he came back, didn't play last night, but his effort tonight, I think someone said that he looks like an all-star at times in practice. I'm probably misquoting that, but to me, in preseason, he's an all-star, right? I mean, tonight, man, fucking crazy game by him. So, like, the whole depth situation behind the guard, that was such a worry before the season, but now I can just see it kind of being resolved already, right? They're just fighting for that. Anything else from the game, though, John? I was going to bring up Bol Bol, but I thought it was too soon, dude.
So I was sitting there, and a great nickname came to me via Dave King for Saban Lee. Young Bled. He's like a young Bledsoe, to where every time he gets the ball, he's attacking. He's not looking to pass, over and over and ad nauseum, just like a young Bledsoe. So he's young Bled. So we'll put together a drop for him. Again, Saban Lee, the one thing I'm looking forward to with the fact that preseason soon will be coming to an end and the regular season will begin is the sheer fact that we're going to get a lot less Saban Lee minutes. Love the guy, love the hustle, love the fact that he attacks the cylinder in small doses, but taking a look tonight, 16 more minutes played, and how many shots? 3 of 9.
I can't stand it anymore.
I can't put up with Lee guy.
No, never have been.
Keith, but he wants to be here.
Keith, do you have any comments on Saban Lee?
I can't believe
Lee is.
I can't believe that you guys aren't a fan of the fact that you're not a fan of Young Bled. I'm just I'm shocked. It drives. I gotta say honestly, Goodwin. It's going to be a hard time for any Blazers fan to get behind rooting for Goodwin, just because that is also the name of like Aaron Goodwin was Dame's agent, so he kind of left a bad taste in everyone's mouth up here. But he looked good tonight, man. I think against our guys tonight, he definitely. What'd you say? 6 steals? Is that what I heard you say, John?
6 steals in 21 minutes and 4 in the first 4. I mean, he just came out diving all over the court, doing that dirty work. Everybody needs that dirty work player. Like, do you?
That's tasty, man.
As a Blazers fan, who's your dirty work player guy?
Right now, our dirty work guy is probably Matisse Thybulle. That's kind of our go-to. Nurk used to be kind of he'd get down there for some of that. He'd get into some of that. So that's maybe something you guys can look for and tell me if he's staying consistent, keeping it going. I heard a great report today. I think Nurk was talking to one of our people down there and was talking about the they had him in a side room for an interview, and he's making jokes about, it's kind of all cold up here. I guess this was for the previous preseason game when he was up here in Portland, and he was making jokes about the weather and the climate and how much he enjoys the Phoenix warmth down there. So
yeah, it was 102 today.
Yeah, it's supposed to get nicer next week, and then it'll probably go back up. John Bol Bol, they were chanting for him, dude. at the arena for how long were they? Was it the third
Quite
quarter they
some
started?
time.
Uh-huh.
Quite some time. So Bol Bol, obviously fan favorite. He's like Pat Burke used to be for the Phoenix Suns. When the game starts to get out of hand, you start chanting for the guy that you want to see. And the whole lower Bol Bol, if you will, was going crazy, rooting for him to come on. And like, again, I get it. I don't know if I understand it. He's not very good. You see him, two fouls right away. I know you do, but two fouls right away. I see a defensive possession where he just gets pushed off his spot. I see a bad offensive possession. He sets a screen, gets an offensive foul because he can't set screens because he's too small. And so I get the love and affection that he brings because he's just, kind of a freak. He's massive and it's just weird looking. Everyone's like, yeah. But like from a basketball standpoint, he just doesn't possess it. And I know I'm kind of in the minority there because everybody obviously loves him. Every fan in here was chanting his name. We want Bol Bol. And I respect it. I don't see it.
You need to understand, you're talking about a duck down there. Bol Bol was University of Oregon grad. He has got love up here, man. And I heard it tonight on TV when we were watching the game. As soon as he touches the ball, you could hear the kind of general din in the arena change from just kind of the and then I'm like, I kind of look around like, what was that about? I couldn't quite tell. And he gets the ball maybe 2 plays later and just as soon as he touches
every time he sets a bad screen, he gets called for a foul. They boo the referees, So
they
again,
should.
It was a bad screen. I mean, again, respect to him for being a quack Oregon Duck. Wasn't Dylan Brooks a Duck?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck Dylan Brooks.
He's my favorite Oregon Duck.
Gross.
I know.
There's too many Dylan Brooks references already. Like for a guy who's on neither of our teams, there's like 3 references in this pod already.
That's what we do, I guess.
Again, I think Bol Bol is somebody who will survive the cuts because again, we have to cut 2 players, and I think he'll survive. When we were talking to Frank Vogel before the game and after the game, we were talking about defense. He kind of shied away from the Bol Bol conversation because from a defensive acumen, he just doesn't necessarily have it, and he's not really a Vogel guy. I feel so. But I still think he'll survive the cuts. I think that when it's cut time, I think Keon Johnson's going to go, and I think Ish Wainwright's going to go because he's a non-guaranteed contract, and you're not going to get penalized for you losing him. Now, you could bring him back on your third 2-way. I don't know if you need to do that. But I think Bol Bol's going to be here to stay, and Bol Bol mania, it's gripping Phoenix. Remember Bol Bol backwards is lob lob.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, dude, sorry, man. Anything else from the game, dude? What else is going on? How was your first experience there? Did you have a good time? Did it feel like you were playing NBA 2K?
Yeah, it was, obviously it was my first time covering the game as a credentialed member of the media for Brightside. Thank you. I've been writing for Brightside for about 3 years, but this is my first time actually getting credentialed, coming down, seeing what it's like being with Dave King, who ran Brightside for the past 10 years. And yeah, it's a fun experience coming down. You go down below the stadium, go to the press conferences. Chauncey Billups, I was in there for his presser before the game.
Super
in a
close,
tiny little room.
like right next to him.
You're right
Tiny
there. I was
room.
like, I picked his nose for him. He had an itch. I'm like, let me get that for you there, Chauncey, buddy. Vogel,
best friend for life now. You have he loves that stuff.
Well, that's what he's about. Where did Chauncey go to college? Is he a Colorado guy?
I know he's a Colorado guy.
That sounds about right.
Up there, yeah.
I feel like
sounds
he
right. He looks like he was in that uniform. Yeah.
So I should ask him something about Coach Prime. And then just obviously, just walking around the stadium and my favorite part, obviously, before the game, they're doing shoot around. You go and you sit in the first row and you're just kind of watching the players. I was watching a lot of Tumani Kamara. Obviously, that's going to be a guy for you guys.
We were just talking about him. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
I watched him brick 3-point attempt after 3-point attempt. I was taking videos. Like I was sitting at that perfect spot where he'd catch the ball and shoot right on this basket behind me. And I'm like, if he sinks one, this is going to be great to post on social media. He didn't sink any. I was like, well, fuck.
No.
I had to delete like 10 videos. But watching KD in his KD 16s, those pink and white KD 16s are sick shoes. Seeing Book, seeing Beal, just kind of being down here, talking to the local members of the media. Rex Chapman was sitting right there.
Was he there?
Nice.
I was gonna say something to sexy Rexy, but I was just like, it's my first time here, and maybe I shouldn't.
You become familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about?
And I do have a funny John Bloom story.
Okay.
Okay, so Bloom, John Bloom, so you don't know Keith, but John Bloom is taking over the radio side for Al McCoy. Al McCoy called games here for 55 years. So John Bloom, who's been on the radio, is now the full-time radio guy. So I went up to him beforehand because I know John a little bit, and I went up and I said hi to him, and I was talking to him. He's like, Voita, I got something for you. Do you know what I'm going to pull out on the broadcast tonight? I go, what? And he goes, I got a nickname for Yuta Watanabe. I go on. And he goes, check this out. You ready? Yuta the Shooter. I was like, hey, Bloom, I hate to bust your bubble.
Utah the
Shooter!
But I showed him that drop, and he's like, oh, people are already calling this? He's like, if I say that, should I credit you? I'm like, no, man, I got this from like the Nets subreddit.
I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of people have been using that over there.
Yeah, but
so
I don't think it's new.
That's funny. Yeah, last time when I was there, John was just showing me how to I guess protect your cookie so it stays fresh. So live on air you can have it fresh. So yeah.
I love John Blue. But I'm like, hey, if you want any other nicknames like Jordan Goodwin, he goes, well, what do you call Drew Eubanks? I'm like, well, they called him Drew Banks up in Portland.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm like, Bloom, I thought you were a little more plugged in on this, So love you, Bloom, if you're listening at this at a later time. Looking forward to seeing you. I love John Bloom. I mean, he's like, Lissy told me you were going to be here. Got me ready.
Yeah,
so
John,
it was great.
Bloom is awesome.
He is, man.
Did you get to run into DA or no? Did you run into him in the hallway?
No, so I did just walking out here. There's Gerald Bourget doing PHNX stuff over there. No, but he was talking to Chris Spears. So they were sitting there talking, and I was going to go up and see. I mean, it was obviously a mixed reaction in here.
Yeah,
obviously there's a lot of. I'm sure you guys talked about DA already. I assume
we did. Yeah, but you can go ahead.
Just on it.
Well, a couple things. Why not? It's great for content. You'll find that out very quick. You Podland Trail Casters, he's easy content every time. So obviously earlier today he made the statement about how people were telling him that he needs to shoot the three a little bit more. And that's a point of emphasis for him. And it's like, that's not the narrative necessarily that he needs to change. If that's what he thinks the narrative is that needs to change, he's way off base, because that's not what we were never like, DA needs more threes. Like, no, man, we need you to be more physical in the paint and grab the rebound and, just don't look lost every time we throw you the ball. And then obviously he walked out here. The only guy he said hi to next to the bench was the equipment manager. He didn't say hi. And it's a preseason game. So it's like, I get the art of competitiveness, but he came out and there were some rumblings. Then they introduced him, and there were some cheers for sure, but there was also some boos, and I felt there were more boos than there were cheers. Just a low rumbling. It wasn't like a massive, but it was a low rumbling, and I was kind of disappointed. I was disappointed to hear that. As a fan, I think that we should definitely cheer him, and every time he comes here, we should cheer him for what he meant to this team and this franchise, being our first and only number one pick of all time, helping being a key cog that took us to a finals. You don't boo that man. I think obviously there's some recency bias that's occurring simply because of the recent statement that he's made. The fact that he won't comment on Phoenix or say anything, it's really kind of it's not sitting well with fans right now. But hopefully as time progresses and we get a little bit further away from this whole summer and this situation, we'll see a little bit more of a warm reception for DA when he does come back here and play for opposing teams.
Yeah, I just think there's still a lot of emotion in there. I don't know if he would have had maybe a hard time playing tonight back in Phoenix, because he did spend 5 years here. He's trying to ignore it. There's something there. And I wanted everyone to cheer him just to take the high road, because the way he kind of went out and just kind of didn't care. You know what I mean? It seemed to the fan base. He sent out like a tweet, but it was really half-assed. It was just like, shit, like that kind of sucked. But I get it from him, man. Wish him the best, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, I think that's the end of the DA talk. Is there anything else, John?
Is there any other questions you have for me before I sign off?
You got anything for John?
Yeah, I got one for you, John.
Fire away.
So obviously we didn't see Nurk tonight, but you've been watching the rest of the games. We saw Nas tonight. What are your early impressions of our guys from Portland up here? Not Keon, obviously, but Nurk and Nas.
Nurk I'm absolutely in love with. Again, obviously his durability is going to be his greatest hurdle that he needs to navigate. He's slow on defense, but what we saw, especially in our last game against you guys, when he was just picking apart the defense, Jokic-esque. And I know that's more than likely the exception, not the rule, but I think that given the offensive tools around him, he's going to have the ability to do that more often, and that's a wrinkle that's going to be really hard for opposing teams to stop. If your center can stand out 20 feet from the basket, see plays develop, and then hit guys in stride, when those guys are Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, that's scary. Obviously, we want to see him have a little bit more athleticism, but you got to kind of just take it as it lies. And I think that he's again, the word fit is the reason why they brought Nurkic here. And I think that the fit that he's going to provide is going to be something that a lot of people are going to think is deadly. Nasir Little hasn't impressed me as of yet. Again, kind of like Keita Bates-Diop, who's another new player here. He's trying to find his footing and he's trying to find his place on this team. I just threw this away, but let me pull out the old stat sheet here and see how Nasir did. 14 minutes, 2 of 4. Nothing crazy. 3 rebounds, an assist, a foul. He's a guy who so far, and even in the last game when he got the start, you forget he's on the court. And I know that he has the athletic ability. His upside is great, but he's almost duplicitous of like a Josh Okogie type, a hustle guy, some athleticism, obviously more offensively gifted, but he's yet to put it together, and that's okay. It's going to take time, and I think that Nas is going to be somebody who, in time, is going to grow into his role and understand what his place is and gain that confidence. When you're a young player like him and you come into a team where you just have cold-blooded killers like Kevin Durant's like an intimidating dude. Devin Booker is an intimidating dude. Bradley Beal, I feel, is like a less intimidating. He's more of like, a brother.
Yeah, he seems more chill.
Goodwin. Yeah. So, but those other two dudes, they carry themselves in a certain air and they approach the game with such a passion and that's what kind of drove DA away at times, it feels, is you have these two guys who are just unbelievably focused and they look down on you kind of if you're not nearly as focused as they are. When you're a young player coming into this like Nas is, he's going to have to adjust to that and find his place. It's like me sitting in post games and thinking of these great questions and just being like, I'm a little too afraid to ask right now because I'm just not comfortable with the setting. I go 3 or 4 more times. You get used to the rhythms. You get used to the players. You develop that human connection and confidence gains. It's the same thing. So to answer your question, Nasir Little is John Voita right now.
You know what, John, next time if I ever go with him, I'm going to pinch your butt so you get up there and ask some questions. All right? Woo! John's got a question.
You in the back. Why'd you sit up?
Yeah. Oh yeah, great take. Yeah, we'll everything John says I agree with. What's up?
Yeah, we'll see if we can go to the home opener against Utah. I think that'd be a fun game. Utah.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Utah.
It's a Saturday, so I like Saturdays.
Because like
I have to drive home now. Go to work in the morning.
That's not as fun as the looks, is it?
That's the one shitty part.
Yeah,
it's like you live closer than I do, so
a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I've hijacked way too much of your time. Keith, can't thank you enough for coming on, my friend. I'm looking forward to listening to this whole thing and hearing your points of view, from a Portland standpoint. So on that note, Jamsters and Trail Casters, I'm going to sign off. We'll see you.
Right. Don't end the stream.
Play the lick. I'm not going to end the stream. I did that last year. I won't fuck up. I promise. How the fuck do I get out of here?
And it's all going to go black. Okay.
Okay, John's gone. I got him out of here. All right, Keith, we got maybe like 10, 15 more minutes. Right, cool. We do a couple more things here on Suns Jam Session podcast. If you guys have not yet, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe and keep watching. We got about 15 more minutes with Keith. We do a segment called Subreddit Stakeout.
The Suns Jam Session Subreddit Stakeout.
So basically, this is all that happens during the game. We do visit the subreddit of whichever team we are playing, and tonight was the Blazers. So again, it's two games in a row. We got some Ayton talk last time when I was in there snooping around because you don't want them to know you're a Suns fan. Really, they'll probably be welcoming. They seem pretty nice.
I'm gonna look for you now. I'm gonna try and figure out like this. I'm gonna try and spot him.
I don't even log in. I don't even log in and comment or downvote or anything. I just go through and take the best comments. So we just read out the best comments basically from subreddit. So this was kind of a little I'm not used to this from Blazers fans. They said Devin Booker tries harder in preseason than he does in elimination games. Jeez. Wow. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, geez.
But they are big on.
What's the criticism? What elimination game are we talking about? Like, I'm trying to think of where
every time we're eliminated, right? We lose by 40 and Book puts up like 10 points. I guess they do got kind of a point.
Okay. Well, that's not what I was trying to point out at all. I wasn't trying to go there, but okay, damn. All right, damn.
Yeah, but they are excited about Tumani over there. They said, Tumani, I'm hyped starting in the lineup tonight. I was worried about Shaden the first game they're talking about, but it looks better since then. So I guess they were a little worried about him, but they said that he's very aggressive tonight. They were happy that Drew Banks was out there tonight, and they said Drew Banks looks like a walking sunburn. Yeah, he does kind of, doesn't he?
I was gonna point out when we were watching the game tonight, my wife said two things that just had me laughing. First, when she saw Nurk on the bench talking to everyone else and says, "Oh, is he injured already?" That just killed me. But then when she saw Drew Banks, she's like, "Oh, did he forget the sunscreen?" And I thought that was so original. Apparently, Reddit disagrees.
Well, they're kind of mixed on Scoot, but there was a comment about Scoot is such a rook, incredible one play, indecisive the next. I did mention that earlier. Makes me laugh. He'll get there. So they're very supportive, of course, about this whole situation with him. I think him being the number 3 pick, high expectations, of course. I thought maybe he should have went number 2, but right now he's not looking too bad. And then also there's a zone that Chauncey Billups is playing that's driving these guys crazy, these fans crazy in subreddit. They said it's going to be really annoying when we can never actually play fast this season because with zone gives up 120 points per game plus. So any thoughts on that?
Chauncey has he's had a thing for the zone since he came here. So we've had 2 years of it already where it's intermittent zone. And it wasn't always a bad thing, I feel like, when you have a established team that knows how to do it. But Chauncey, we've had some weird comments from the coaching situation is going to be a weird thing to watch in Portland this year because he had 2 years of working with Dame and a number of established players, and he's now making comments how this is the roster that he wanted. This is the team that he the roster that he was looking for, and maybe he's just talking about more of kind of defensive potential, but he does seem to have an affinity for trying to throw some zone in there, not always at what time that I think it fits best, but I haven't seen him do it yet in a situation that fully breaks down the transition. So I don't know. We're gonna watch for that one.
Maybe hopefully he moves away from that.
Yeah, I don't mind using it sometimes, but zone is not. I mean, it's college ball.
Couple plays here or there. Just to stop something. Just
everyone in the NBA knows how to work zone. Yeah.
Wait, what's going on? Oh, they went to zone. And
use it to mix it up and then move away. Yeah, exactly.
Then you stick with it. You're down by 20.
Jam star of the game.
All right, jam star of the game tonight. Basically, the star player. Who do you think was the best player out there tonight? Who you got?
I mean, Book carrying the first quarter versus first half or the rest.
You can go both teams too. You can choose either a Blazer or a Sun.
For the Blazers, man, I actually, the thing is with the way the Blazers are looking right now, I wasn't even watching the score that much. I don't know who led the score. I gotta say that I was watching Scoot closest, so it's gonna be Book or Scoot from each team for me.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with the same. I might go with Jordan Goodwin just because the 6 steals, 4 in 4 minutes. He was insane. Of course, he was tearing them up. At one time, it was him, Grayson Allen, and Okogie on the court together playing with Durant and Eubanks. Just defensively, I don't know if the Portland Trailblazers even scored 4 points within that span. It was just nuts. I mean, a lot of young guys out there trying to figure things out, but still, I mean, they played a little crazy. So I'm going to give it to Goodwin. Let's see what the Jamsters got out there. It is preseason, but KD, 19 points tonight from KD. So I want to ask you too. What do you think about did you watch him last year with the Suns much in the playoffs and stuff? Because he doesn't seem like the same KD as before. After the injury, he got hurt with the Suns, came back, didn't look exactly the same, but he's still putting up great stats. Does it still look like the same KD, or is he getting a little too old for you?
I can see what you're talking about. What we kind of we had Carmelo Anthony come here in the late part of his career, right? Like right at the end. And I think he was one of those things where fans had kind of had an idea of what Carmelo Anthony was. And then it was different when you actually saw him on the floor. I could see maybe what you're saying, that KD is aging to a point where maybe he's got to change his game a little bit. I don't think you have too much to worry about with him going downhill too fast, though. From at least I'm not watching as closely as most Suns fans probably are down there, but I don't think KD looks. I didn't see anything that is tipping me off saying, oh, he's slowing down to the next gear. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think he's more just reassurance, really, behind Book and Beal. I think Beal kind of falls third. Book and KD will be just really up there together to lead this team, but Beal's probably right behind them. But at sometimes, man, I just feel like it's not the same KD. And then I look at the box score, I'm like 19 points. Like Obviously, he's been doing this for a while. So,
well, I mean,
go ahead.
Let me just say on KD real quick, because I've had a whole range of perspectives on this guy as far as like watching him go, what he did in OKC when he went to Golden State, what he was doing over in Brooklyn, now down with you guys.
Yeah.
I think, you look at where he was when he went to the Warriors, he was a role player on that team. That's a weird phrase to use for a guy like KD, but he wasn't the number one, right? There was a core there. So even if he was the number 2 scorer, he wasn't like the center of the team.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, you could say, was a little different, but we all saw how Brooklyn worked out or didn't work out, really. So maybe it's as much of a thing right now with KD, less of a thing about him getting old, more about a thing where he's still trying to figure out exactly where you fit when you have that much talent around you. Because you guys got fitting talent around talent is as much of a puzzle as it can be to be doing with the opposite, like we're doing right now. Trying to like figure out where the talent comes from.
Yeah, you can kind of see it with Bradley Beal too. Beal was having kind of a difficult time to start the game. He did get to the rim a few times, got 4 straight points there, but you can kind of see it's not frustration on his part, but you can just tell like he's really trying to figure this out. Limited time, but he kind of just trying to make things work on his own. It's really weird because without Nurk, who is kind of like our point guard, the offense doesn't seem to flow as well. That's one thing I really noticed tonight without Nurk, and I think the more and more these guys, of course, work together, will get better. But Nurk is like just kind of like the guy I kind of want Ayton to be. In a way, I've always talked about Ayton just being the center of the offense, and he can. Because there was I don't know if it was a run we made into the finals. It might have been that year where his passing just looked incredible at times. I'm like, oh, he needs to actually have the ball more, set things up, run the picks, and he'll find
a center playmaker that way.
And it just never got to that really from DA, and that was a frustrating part. But yeah, hopefully that works out for him. All right. Well, was there anything else you would like to go over?
No, I just want to touch on what you're saying there, man. Honestly, just real quick, because and honestly, like you said, hopefully it works out with Ayton from our end that in time he learns how to fill that role and can do the same kind of thing. But it's amazing the number of comparisons that I've heard so far when you guys have talked about what you're loving with Nurk or even things that you didn't like with Ayton, and I'm sitting here in my head for both those going like, oh, sounds just like Nurk, or sounds just like the similarities between the two players is, I think, a lot more than maybe I realized or than most people realized going into this. But the biggest difference is, get on camera there, 5 years, right? Like they're 5 years apart. Nurk is in a spot where, again, it's that fit thing. He fits you guys. He fits your timeline and what you've got going on, and he knows his role a bit more next to talent, where Ayton is a bit more in a spot where I think he was kind of looking to grow into a spot. And, when maybe that spot was getting smaller around him as more talent came in, that wasn't what he wanted. We'll see how it works for him, but in the present, man, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear Nurk already is making that kind of impression with you guys, because from day one when he came here too, I think one of his early games, we saw one of these kind of, big catch up top, one hand, and almost a Arvydas Sabonis, like another Blazers legend up here, right? Like a Sabonis, like behind the back bounce pass, someone going in, probably some early preseason game, even it didn't really matter, but it made an impression like, oh my God, he's got that in there. And then we just saw too little of it up here. We didn't see him really primed in his best condition. So I hope it works down there for you.
Yeah, I hope so too. And the thing is with DA, I would like to hear eventually in the future what really happened, the separation between Phoenix and himself. I know there's something else there that we just don't know. We're like, oh shit, that's what happened. It's going to suck because he does get hated on a lot and we are very critical on him. But I mean, it just has to happen with the guy that wants to kind of be the dominating guy that he wants. He has to have us in the background be like, no, you got to keep working hard. You got to get to this kind of status. But I mean, what he'll bring to Portland is hopefully what we wanted here in Phoenix. I really kind of hope so. It's because John and I were talking about how we were just kind of sports hating him now. We don't want him to do good because we're Suns fans. The way he left, the way everything happened, it all ended. We don't want to support him in his new role at Portland. We just really don't want to. But then I go back and forth because I'm an emotional man. I don't even, I might shed a tear here or there thinking about DA not being here in Phoenix because it's very emotional. I think
I'm going to come on here. I'm gonna come on here being a nice guy to you guys too. I'm gonna make it so you can't hate him. I'm gonna be like, oh, like we're hoping for the best from up here. Everyone's gonna get some sympathy points going.
Yeah,
but I hear what you're saying too, because we're the same way with Dame right now. I'm like, fuck that guy. Like part of me is like, I'm excited to watch him in Milwaukee. I'm excited to watch him get a championship.
But you don't want him to get a championship, do you?
Yeah, and I mean the side of me, like when he was asking for Miami only, I'm like, no, anyone but Miami. Send him anywhere else but Miami, because I didn't want that. But it's like
it's kind of the Steve Nash thing. It's like send him anywhere but the Lakers. You know what I mean? He goes to the Lakers.
Absolutely that.
That was a hard one to root for sure, because I hate the Lakers, but I've always been I love Kobe and I love LeBron, but I hate the Lakers.
I love LeBron. I've got a love-hate thing with Kobe, maybe just because of like age and timing growing up, whatever. But yeah, man, like Nash was my guy when I lived in Phoenix down there. And I remember that when that happened. And it was that same thing. Like I even more so now as coming back and being a Blazer fan again, like, growing up, maybe that's the thing is I started as a Blazer fan. You hated the Lakers, moved down to Phoenix. You hated the Lakers a little more, come back up here. Yeah. The Laker hate grew. And so it really was anyone but the Lakers. I'm always gonna love Nash, man. But yeah, it's that was definitely that was rough.
Yeah, it was. Speaking of the Lakers, the Suns do play their last preseason game on Thursday, 7 p.m. at the Lakers in LA.
Get them.
Preview to this one, I don't even know. I don't even think anybody's gonna play in this one. Obviously, you won't see any of the big stars or anything like that. But Keith, it was so nice to have you on the pod. This was so awesome, man. Seriously, to fill in a whole hour. John came on for a little bit, but just talking basketball, talking Trailblazers, talking Ayton. It's fantastic to have you on. Let everybody else know that hasn't seen it yet in the beginning, where to find you, where to follow you, and all that good stuff.
Of course, yeah. Like the header down below at Trail Casters on Twitter, on other socials as well. I need to keep up with exactly which one we're on. It's been a summer break, man. I've been very behind. I need to kind of get back in NBA mode right now. But at Trailcasters on socials, trailcasters@gmail.com for the email. Send me anything you want. We will talk about it on the pod. And if you go and check out the pod episodes, we have links in there for our Discord. It's a good, small community, 200 or so people, like just great basketball heads, and we have a lot of fun. It's basketball, it's movies, it's video games, it's lots of different things. Nice. So come and hang out, and it's gonna grow. Maybe we learn some things from you guys in the StreamYard stuff you have going on here. I love the chat feature for the live.
It's so easy. Yeah. Actually, I say that, but there's a few pods that I take over that don't go as easy as it may seem.
We've tried to do this kind of thing in the voice chats in Discord, but you've got all these automated kind of like fonts at the bottom, the headers and the rest, the chat on the side for everyone else coming in. I love it. So
yeah, you can download a ton of different stuff on here, so make it look good.
We'll all evolve together, and so yeah, come and hang out on the Discord with us.
Everybody, I will be there. Jamsters, thanks for joining. You can follow us at Suns Jam, me at Matthew Lissy. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave a review for us, Apple 5-star review. We will read it here right on the pod. That's all I got to say. So everyone, just go home and love your family.